Before we dive in, if you love epic tales of war, strategy, hit that subscribe and like button, turn on notifications, and join our growing legion of warriors. Now, let's begin. Imagine this. You're staring up at the night sky, admiring the endless ocean of stars, thinking about the vastness of space. But what if I told you that right now, at this very moment, we are not alone? What if humanity's greatest nightmare is already in motion, an unstoppable force racing toward us from the dark void, a war unlike anything ever imagined, a battle not just for survival, but for the very right to exist? It all began with a signal, one that changed everything. It wasn't the first time Earth had picked up a strange transmission from space. Over the decades, scientists had intercepted numerous signals, most of them dismissed as cosmic background noise. But this was different. A chilling pattern of pulses, perfectly timed, intelligent, unmistakably alien. It wasn't a greeting. It was a warning. At first, the world's top astrophysicists believed it was an invitation. A civilization, perhaps far more advanced than us, had finally reached out. But as they decrypted the patterns, something terrifying emerged. A message not meant to communicate, but to intimidate. Prepare for assimilation. The Galactic Dominion is coming. Governments across the world scrambled. Was it a hoax, a misunderstanding, or the prelude to something far worse? The SETI Institute, NASA, and intelligence agencies worldwide dissected every bit of data. What they found shattered any hope of peace. The transmission contained detailed records of entire civilizations that had come before us, and what had happened to them. Worlds stripped of their resources. Populations erased, species enslaved. The Dominion was not coming for diplomacy. It was coming to conquer. And then, the sky lit up. Massive objects detected at the edge of the solar system were approaching at impossible speeds. Ships, hundreds of them, some the size of cities, others as colossal as moons. The countdown had begun. The nations of Earth, once divided by politics, war, and greed, now faced a terrifying truth. They either stood together, or they would fall alone. The United Nations became the United Earth Defense Alliance, a desperate coalition pooling every resource, every mind, every weapon to face the storm. But deep inside classified military installations, hidden from the public, something else was happening. The greatest secret in human history, technology never meant to be revealed, was finally coming to light. Humanity had been preparing for this moment longer than anyone had realized, and Earth had a few surprises of its own. Earth's darkest secret. The world was in chaos. Governments collapsed, economies crumbled, and fear spread like wildfire. But, amidst the panic, in the deepest shadows of Earth's military-industrial complex, the final pieces of a long-hidden plan were being set into motion. Because while the public was only now awakening to the horror of an impending alien invasion, certain world leaders had known about this day for far longer than they were willing to admit. Beneath the deserts of Nevada, inside a classified facility, buried miles underground, a meeting was taking place. The room was silent, except for the cold, mechanical hum of a holographic projection. The faces of world leaders, generals, and shadow operatives flickered against the dimly lit walls. They had all gathered for one reason. Project Revenant is now active. For decades, Earth had been under silent surveillance, not by aliens, but by its own people. Strange objects in the sky, unidentified spacecraft, unexplained disappearances, all of it, carefully covered up under the guise of conspiracies and misinformation. But the truth was far more terrifying than any speculation. Humanity had recovered something long ago. Something ancient, something alien, and now it was time to use it. The first revelation shook the world's top scientists to their core. Humans were not as primitive as they believed. Deep within classified military vaults lay reverse-engineered technology far beyond the current limits of human understanding. Some of it had been salvaged from extraterrestrial crashes, craft that had been retrieved over the decades, including the infamous 1947 Roswell incident. But others had been found buried beneath the surface of Earth itself. Technology, so old it defied explanation, Had Earth been visited before? Had humans unknowingly inherited a battlefield from a war that predated their own civilization? These questions no longer mattered. What mattered now was survival. Within days, the world's brightest minds, scientists, engineers, hackers, were gathered in underground research bunkers, working around the clock to integrate alien technology into Earth's defenses. Weapons that bent the laws of physics. Shielding that defied conventional energy limits. Experimental spacecraft capable of maneuvering beyond light speed. And then, there was the greatest secret of all, Project Revenant's final phase. Hidden beneath the ice sheets of Antarctica, an anomaly had been detected decades ago. An object, dormant but not dead. Some believed it was a ship, others a weapon. What was certain was that it wasn't human. The decision was made. Earth's last hope rested on the awakening of whatever lay beneath the ice. It was a gamble. No one knew if it would help them or destroy them before the Dominion even arrived. But with an armada of alien warships closing in, they had no choice. And so, as the world prepared for the greatest battle in human history, a team of elite operatives was sent to Antarctica. Their mission: activate the unknown artifact, or die trying. The Awakening, Antarctica, a frozen wasteland untouched by time, where the wind howled like a ghostly warning. The elite strike team descended through a blizzard, their aircraft slicing through the storm toward Point Zero, a classified excavation site buried beneath the ice. The world's greatest minds had studied the readings for years, yet no one had dared awaken what lay beneath. Until now. As they touched down, a massive structure emerged from the white void, a black monolith of impossible design, half buried in ice thousands of years thick. Unlike any known material on Earth, it absorbed light instead of reflecting it, as if drinking in the energy around it. The closer they got, the more the air seemed to vibrate, as if the object was alive. Dr. Elena Voss, Earth's foremost expert in xenotechnology, approached cautiously, her gloved hand trembling as she placed it against the monolith's surface. And then it spoke. Not in words, not in sound, but directly into their minds, a flood of images, thoughts, sensations. A language that was not meant to be understood, but felt. A war. A destruction beyond comprehension. A warning. The artifact was not a weapon. It was a grave. Something had been here before. Something ancient. Something that had fought against the Dominion and lost. Voss stumbled back, gasping. The ice beneath them groaned, shifting, as the structure pulsed with energy. Sensors spiked off the charts. The dormant machine, whatever it was waking up. But as the team scrambled to assess what was happening, their comms crackled with a chilling message from orbit. Incoming. Multiple signatures. Entry trajectory confirmed. The Dominion had arrived. Across the solar system, Earth's defense network went online. Orbital cannons powered up. Missile silos unlocked. Prototypes of hybrid alien-human warships took their first flight, but they were outnumbered, outgunned. Even with humanity's greatest efforts, Earth was still just a single planet against an empire that had conquered entire galaxies. And yet, the artifact continued to pulse, stronger, louder, until it answered. Signal burst forth, not just through space, but through time itself. A frequency that should not exist. A distress call. But to whom? Before anyone could react, the monolith shattered. Ice cracked apart as something massive, a structure buried beneath the Antarctic shelf, began to rise. A ship. No. A fleet. Hundreds of them. Ancient, forgotten, waiting for a war long past. Voss fell to her knees, eyes wide with realization. They were not alone. Earth had just awakened something far older than the Dominion. And now, it was coming. But the question remained, was it friend or foe? The sky burns. The world watched in horror as the sky tore apart. From the far reaches of space, the Dominion Armada emerged. Vast, monstrous ships eclipsing the stars, their metallic hulls glistening with a cold, predatory hunger. Some were sleek, dagger-shaped destroyers. Others were floating behemoths, armed with weapons beyond human comprehension. And at their center, a leviathan of impossible scale, the Worldbreaker. A command vessel the size of Earth's moon, its mere presence bending the planet's electromagnetic field. Within minutes, the invasion began. Earth's orbital defenses fired first. Mass drivers, plasma arrays, railgun satellites, and experimental energy weapons. All of it unleashed in a desperate attempt to cripple the first wave. Some Dominion ships fell, their hulls ruptured by relentless fire. But for every enemy destroyed, 100 more took their place. Then came the bombardment. From the heavens, the Dominion rained fire upon Earth. Cities turned to molten glass. New York, Beijing, Moscow, Cairo, Rio de Janeiro. Erased in minutes. The atmosphere roared as energy beams carved trenches into the planet's crust. Skyscrapers toppled, oceans boiled, and entire continents trembled, and yet, humanity fought back. From secret military bases hidden deep underground, the Revenant fleet launched. These were not ordinary warships. They were the culmination of decades of black-budget research, hybridized with salvaged alien technology. Cloaking fields, quantum shielding, and gravity-defying propulsion turned Earth's defense force into something the Dominion had never encountered before. An enemy that refused to break. Across the battlefield, experimental fighter squadrons engaged Dominion interceptors in chaotic, high-speed dogfights. Human pilots, outnumbered and outmatched, used unpredictable maneuvers to outgun enemies that had dominated space warfare for millennia. Stealth frigates infiltrated Dominion capital ships, deploying cybernetic warfare to disable key systems. On the ground, the remnants of Earth's military fought in the ruins of fallen cities, turning every street into a kill zone. But none of it was enough. The Dominion's technology was superior. Their numbers were endless. And worst of all, they had yet to deploy their full strength. From orbit, the Worldbreaker powered up. Deep within its core, an ancient weapon, one that had ended civilizations far greater than humanity, was preparing to fire. If it reached full charge, Earth itself would be obliterated. And then, the impossible happened. The sky ripped open, not from a Dominion attack, not from human weaponry, but from something else. The fleet that had slumbered beneath Antarctica answered the call. From the depths of history, from a war that had once raged across the stars, they returned. Ancient ships, covered in the scars of battles long forgotten. Some were barely functional, others moved with an eerie automated precision. But their weapons burned with a power that made even the Dominion hesitate. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Dominion faced something they did not expect. A fight they might not win. And Earth? Earth had just unleashed something even worse. Titans awaken, the battlefield shifted. The Dominion, once confident in their overwhelming superiority, faltered for the first time in recorded history. Their warships, designed to crush resistance before it could even form, now found themselves outmaneuvered, outgunned, outmatched. The ancient fleet, the unknown force buried beneath Antarctica, moved with eerie precision as if controlled by something beyond mere intelligence. These were not just ships. They were relics of an extinct empire, a civilization that had fought the Dominion long before Earth had even discovered fire. Their weapons did not fire conventional energy or ballistics, but something far older, far deadlier. Reality itself seemed to warp where they struck. Entire Dominion vessels simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, just a void where they had once been. And then, the Titans awoke. From beneath the ice, from deep in the Pacific, from caverns hidden beneath the crust of Mars, colossal war machines rose. Some had rested for untold eons, buried beneath Earth's surface like sleeping giants. Others had been waiting in forgotten ruins, concealed in places humans had dismissed as myth. Towering humanoid constructs unlike anything the world had ever seen marched into battle. Each step shattered the ground beneath them, their metallic frames glowing with the energy of a civilization long lost to time. These were not piloted machines. They were living weapons. The Dominion panicked. Their fleet began recalculating, attempting to retreat, but it was too late. One of the ancient Titans turned its gaze toward the Worldbreaker, the Dominion's command vessel. It raised an arm, an appendage that looked more like a jagged monument than a weapon, and unleashed a singularity blast. A black hole, artificially stabilized, formed at the heart of the Dominion's most powerful warship. The Worldbreaker twisted, warped, and collapsed inward, crushed under the force of its own existence. The Dominion's greatest weapon was gone. And yet, Earth was still burning. The Dominion's forces remained relentless, refusing to abandon their conquest even as their command structure collapsed. Humanity still stood on the brink of extinction. The surviving military leaders had one last option, an act of desperation. If Earth was to survive, they needed to make a deal. But with who? The answer stood before them. The Ancient Ones, the lost warriors who had returned to the battlefield. But what did they want? Why had they responded to the distress signal after so long? And were they truly on humanity's side? Dr. Elena Voss, the only person who had touched the artifact and lived, was given a task no human had ever faced before. She would have to make contact and pray that whatever these beings were, they saw humanity as something worth saving. But what if they didn't? What if the real war was only beginning, the choice that shaped the galaxy, Doctor? Elena Voss stood at the heart of Earth's last hope, a chamber deep beneath Antarctica, within the monolithic ruins of the ancient civilization. The air vibrated with a presence that could not be seen, only felt. It was as if the walls themselves were breathing. The Titans, the towering sentinels who had crushed the Dominion's warships like insects, stood silent, waiting. A voice, neither male nor female, neither spoken nor heard, echoed in her mind. "You have awakened us. You seek salvation." She gasped, clutching her head as an overwhelming flood of images and sensations surged into her consciousness. Planets burning, star systems vanishing, a war that had reshaped the very fabric of reality. The Dominion had not always been the oppressors. They had once been prey. Long ago, the galaxy had been ruled by a race known only as the Architects. They had not built empires. They had built existence itself. Their technology was so advanced that even the laws of physics bent to their will. But as with all great powers, their reign had ended. They had vanished, or so the Dominion believed. But they had left behind something. A failsafe. A weapon disguised as ruins, hidden across countless worlds. Earth was one of them. Humanity was never meant to be part of the war. And yet, here they were. Voss steadied herself. If what she was hearing was true, then Earth was not just another planet caught in the Dominion's conquest. It was a forgotten battleground, a place where an ancient war had been fought, and never truly ended. The Titans loomed closer, their massive, glowing eyes staring down at her. They were waiting for her answer. Would humanity stand beside them? Would Earth join a war older than its own existence? The choice was not just hers to make. The entire planet held its breath. The Dominion had promised to return with the Architects, the last remnants of the beings who had once ruled the galaxy. If they truly existed, then Earth's only hope of survival was to embrace the power that had been left behind. But power came at a cost. If they accepted, Earth would no longer be just a world fighting for its survival. It would become the front line of a war that had shaped the galaxy itself. And then, the Titans moved. A portal. A gateway of swirling black and white energy, neither wormhole nor hyperspace, but something else entirely, opened before her. The last remnants of the ancient fleet, those still dormant beneath the ice and hidden across the solar system, responded instantly. Engines roared to life. The fleet was ready to launch. Voss exhaled. There was no time left. Humanity had to choose. Would they fight alone, or awaken the last remnants of a forgotten empire? The forgotten war begins anew. The choice was made. Earth would not fight alone. With a deep, resonant hum, the ancient gateway activated. Its swirling vortex of black and white energy stretched outward, distorting space itself. One by one, the forgotten warships buried beneath Antarctica, hidden on the moon, and long dormant within Mars' crust answered the call. Their engines roared to life, their hulls gleaming with the eerie glow of a technology long thought lost to time. And then, They vanished. Not in a flash of light, not in a burst of acceleration, but in an instant. One moment they were there, the next they were elsewhere. Voss staggered back, feeling the sheer magnitude of what had just happened. Earth had become part of something much larger than itself. The war that the galaxy had long tried to forget had begun anew. But even as humanity made its decision, something else stirred in the void. Far beyond the edge of known space, in the heart of the Dominion's throne world, a massive, planet-sized construct built around a dying neutron star, the architects had returned. They were not like the Dominion. They were not conquerors. They were something far worse. Tall, gaunt figures, their bodies shimmering with energy rather than flesh, gathered in a chamber that pulsed with unnatural light. They had no eyes, yet they saw. No mouths, yet they spoke, and what they spoke of was war. The cycle has been broken. A vast, incomprehensible mind, a being that stretched across dimensions, stirred from its slumber. It had been waiting, watching. Now, after untold millennia, it had reason to act. Its thoughts rippled across the void. Earth had chosen to awaken, the Titans, and for that, it would burn. The Dominion's retreat had not been a failure. It had been a warning, and now the warning was over. With a single command, a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen emerged from the abyss. Not warships, not machines, but living weapons. Vast, city-sized entities, their forms shifting between metal and flesh, moving as if space itself bent to their will. They did not rely on engines. They did not fire weapons. They simply devoured. They had no name, no origin, no history. They were the Endbringers, and their destination was Earth. Voss and the leaders of Earth's resistance stood in stunned silence as their sensors picked up the impossible. A fleet, unlike anything recorded in galactic history, was moving toward the Sol system. Not in weeks, not in days, in hours. The war had not just begun. It was here, the final stand of Earth. The alarms blared across every remaining military installation on Earth. Every satellite, every orbital defense platform, every listening post saw it. A force beyond comprehension, moving not through space, but outside of it, distorting reality with each passing second. The Endbringers had arrived. The skies above Earth darkened as massive, writhing entities tore through space like phantoms, slipping between dimensions as if they were illusions. These were not conventional ships. They were alive. Their surfaces pulsed with an eerie glow, their forms constantly shifting between impossible geometries. Where they passed, reality itself warped. The first line of Earth's defense, the orbital fleet, engaged. Human battleships, alongside, the awakened relics of the ancient war, unleashed everything they had. Kinetic bombardments, plasma lances, gravitational warheads. Nothing worked. The Endbringers ignored the onslaught, absorbing firepower that could have shattered moons. They moved like specters, their forms phasing in and out of existence. And then, they struck back. A single Endbringer descended upon Mars. It did not fire weapons, it simply touched the planet. And where it touched, Mars ceased to exist. Entire regions of the red planet vanished, as if erased from time itself. No debris, no explosion, just nothing. The commanders on Earth knew what this meant. If just one of these things reached the planet, Earth would suffer the same fate. The last gamble deep beneath Antarctica, inside the ancient war chamber. Dr. Voss and the surviving military, leaders prepared their final act. The Titans, the colossal, godlike machines that had once shattered the Dominion's might, stood ready. But even they seemed hesitant. This was different. They had fought the Dominion. They had waged war against fleets, against armies, against empires. But this was extinction itself. Voss clenched her fists. If we die fighting. The last command was given. The Titans rose. From the depths of Earth's oceans, from the moon, from the ruins of Mars, from the dark side of Jupiter's moons, they emerged. The final battle had begun. The first clash between the Titans and the Endbringers was beyond anything humanity had ever witnessed. Time itself seemed to shudder as reality-warping weapons struck against godlike entities. The sky burned. Space twisted and collapsed under the sheer magnitude of power unleashed. And yet, humanity held the line. For the first time, the Endbringers hesitated. The Titans were not easy prey. Their weapons, the last relics of the architects, were unlike anything the galaxy had seen in eons. One Titan, a colossal construct standing taller than mountains, unleashed a weapon that did not fire energy, but something else entirely. A wound in reality. The Endbringer before it howled, a sound that wasn't heard but felt, deep in the soul. It collapsed, inward, and was gone. One was dead, and that meant one thing. They could be killed. The sacrifice. But Earth was still losing. For every Endbringer destroyed, 3 more descended. The orbital defenses had collapsed. The last human warships burned. In the void, the Titans were failing, one by one, their ancient bodies unable to hold against the tide of oblivion. Humanity had minutes left. That's when Voss made the choice. Deep within the ruins, within the war chamber that had awakened the Titans, one final device remained. A failsafe. A weapon that had never been used. Not a bomb. Not a gun. A reset. A way to rewrite reality itself. The cost? Everything. Voss hesitated for only a moment before activating the device. A pulse of energy surged through. Space. The Endbringers froze. The Titans halted. Time itself shattered, and then the universe restarted. The new beginning. Voss woke up on Earth. Not in ruins, not in flames, but in peace. She gasped, looking at the skyline of a world that should have been gone. Cities stood intact. The skies were clear. The war had never happened, or rather, it had been undone. The Endbringers were gone. The Dominion had never come. Humanity had never been invaded. And yet, something was different. She could feel it. Something was watching. The war had been erased, but had something else taken its place? And in the cold depths of the void, far beyond what human eyes could see, something stirred. Something ancient. Something patient. And it whispered, "Not yet. The end."